Welcome to episode 49 of the Toadstool Boardroom for the week of July 5th, 2023. My name's Logan Plant, and I'm joined this week by Justin Corais. Hi, Justin.
Hey, Logan.
And it's a big week this week because we're talking about a pair of first-party Nintendo games. It's the first new games we're talking about since Tears of the Kingdom came out a couple months back already, which is crazy that it's already been almost 2 months.
We've moved on completely. Tears of the what?
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
I just haven't finished it.
A short aside, I've been a little bit frustrated's not the right word, but just like, I don't know. It's just a shame how huge this year is and how many big games are dropping all at once. That Tears of the Kingdom, one of the best games ever, gets a month, and now everyone's talking about Final Fantasy.
I think that's a fair criticism.
At least in our very industry-focused circles.
Yeah,
I feel like
in our
circles. The case.
I think that's a fair criticism. I do think that I think Final Fantasy is going to finish soon in the discourse, and I would wager that a lot of talk is going to turn back to Tears. And there's always, once we get to the end of the year, Game of the Year conversations, where I think it's going to factor in big.
Yeah. You like Final Fantasy 16, right? You've been playing it?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think I'm probably 30-ish hours into it so far. It's exactly as advertised. It's a really fun action game with like kind of a poor man's Game of Thrones storyline, which is it's perfect. Like, if you ever watched a movie like Saturday afternoon on like TNT or whatever, it's kind of the video game equivalent of that, and I'm here for it.
Okay. And not a Nintendo game, but I'll pivot it to a Nintendo topic by asking, is it actually a Game of the Year contender? Like people are saying it is? Or
No. It's I will say it's an enormous spectacle, and it does enormous spectacle better than anything else around. Hopefully people don't conflate that with being an impactful or exceptional title. It's really good. It is very, very good, but we're not talking the same stratosphere or something like Tears of the Kingdom.
Glad to hear it. I thought that's what you'd say.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, because I see Final Fantasy 16, I'm like, looks like a great game. Doesn't look like a Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're not talking about Tears of the Kingdom today. We are talking about Pikmin 4 demo in a little bit, but we're going to start with Everybody 1-2 Switch, the true Game of the Year.
The Final Fantasy of party games, as some would say.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but I'll take it. So it's out, came out last Friday, and Justin, we were talking a little bit about how I see people all the time like get games that retailers sell ahead of street date, and it's never happened to me, and it almost happened to me, and this is the game it almost happened with.
Of all the games.
I see people get Metroids or Zeldas early, and it's like, I almost got Everybody 1-2 Switch early, but no.
Someone's like, hey, you want Everybody 1-2 Switch early? You're like, no. I don't actually.
I can wait. So you bought it, you played it. I want to know, who did you play it with, and how was it?
I played with my son. We played a bunch of games together. It's fun. Honestly, it's a solid motion control based party game. It doesn't have the same panache as something like a WarioWare game where it's got the combination of like rapid fire, like ADHD gameplay with the like gross factor and things like that. But as like a Jackbox kind of esque experience, it's not bad. I think if it were like honestly a little bit cheaper title, like a $20 title, I'd probably just give it a flat endorsement. Like, yeah, pick it up. It's a lot of fun. We played several different games, a good combination. I think we played about half the mini games in there at this point. They work reasonably well, and like a good party game does, if one person is getting trounced by the other, has a few mechanisms built in to help kind of even it, keep it interesting as you go. It does some clever things with the Joy-Con that I think, sort of show its first party chops a little bit. I like it.
Yeah, I think, it's not everything it's not as bad as it was cracked up to be.
Yeah,
from that
very
report
much so.
that came out a year ago. Yeah, it's and that's obviously not a slam on the reporting. It's just not that bad. It was that was a year out from launch, and here we are, and it's fine. Mm-hmm. I think that I could see you not having a good time. I could see you having a great time. Yeah. I think it just comes down to who you play it with. But that's kind of like Jackbox also. Like if you're playing with a group of people that buy into what you're doing, it's a great time. So I tried it out with just my girlfriend first, just to get a feel for it, and to make sure I got some time in with it before the show. And playing it just on a lazy Saturday afternoon, one-on-one, was okay. And we were like, it's not great, but it's not offensive. Like it works. Yeah. It's functional. It's a polished Nintendo game. But then we went to a 4th of July barbecue with our group of friends here in town, and I was like, okay, I'm bringing this game. I got to talk about it on my podcast. Let's go. And so there were 8 of us there. It's 4-on-4, split into random teams to do this party mode. And listeners, if you don't know how this works, basically the core gameplay mode in Everybody Want to Switch is the team battle, where you race for either 3, 5, or 7 wins, and it claims that will take 20, 40, or 60 minutes. And that's pretty accurate, timing-wise. And so I convinced people were like 20, and then a couple people were like 60. We found a middle ground at 40, so we did the first to 5 wins, and it was a little on shaky ground the first 2, I think. People did not like MC Horace, the horse-headed host that you see.
He is nightmare fuel. That big carrot sticking out of his pocket that he will take a bite of sometimes. That I don't understand how that works. Yeah, no, he's terrifying.
But then something fun happened, which was after the first couple games, people just bought into the ridiculousness of it, and
that's what you need.
It ended up being a great time. And like in between games, you're like throwing water balloons at the other team, just like throwing crap on them to just dunk on them after you win a game. Everybody's chanting 1, 2, switch along with Horace. Like it's just it's stupid, it's silly, it's fun. And from a game perspective, there's some clever games in here. Did you play with the smartphone at all?
No, I was going to ask if you tried out that functionality. We purely use Joy-Con.
Yeah, so I played Joy-Con in my first play session, just the one-on-one, but then at this party, we did smartphone mode.
Nice.
And there are some clever games in here that I really liked and appreciated from a game standpoint. One of them is you're basically this photographer for this magazine, and they'll hold up this color that they want, and then you get up and look around the room to take a picture on your phone of something as close as you can get to the color displayed on screen.
That's really good.
So it's like a forest green, and there was like a bag of jalapeno Tim's potato chips, and people are like zooming in on that. Or there's a soda can, and people are looking at that. Or there's like, my friend has some Lego sets out. People are zooming in on that. And it's like, that is such a clever party game. Everyone's up, moving around the room. It was cool, and it's something I feel like I haven't really seen Jackbox do. So that was one that I really liked.
Yeah, that was good. Another one that I really liked, I don't know if you played the hide and seek one. That one is extremely fun.
Joy-Con?
Yeah, exactly. You know, the basically the setup is you have the 2 Joy-Con. One person hides their Joy-Con somewhere. And again, this is one where it does depend on who you're playing with, because if people are being jerks and doing dumb stuff with it, it could ruin the experience. But just playing in the living room, you stick it somewhere, and then you tell the other person to come find it, and they hit a button on their Joy-Con. Each one corresponds to a different type of vibrate. And so then they're looking around, trying to track down the source of it and figure out where it goes. And then you flip the sides and go again the other way. Yeah, same thing. It's fun. You're moving around. It's dynamic. You're not staying in one spot. That like, when they get really close to it, they can't quite figure out like if it's above, behind this thing. Is clever. It's clever. It's well done. There's not a ton of mini games. I think it's something that has a like. This is not an everyday player, let's say. But yeah, like you get the right group of friends, it could be a lot of fun. I still think Mario Party Superstar is probably by far the best party game on the Switch. But if you're looking for something that is honestly a little more bite-sized than that, and you have a group of friends who, I don't know, throw back a couple of cold ones and like to get ridiculous, it's really not bad. And I say, what I really did like too is like, did you do? I forget what it's called, but it's the Samurai Showdown.
Yes.
I love that one. And basically, this is like the fastest game in the game. You have 2 people. You each have a Joy-Con, and then when it says go, whoever gets their slash off first wins the duel. And like just that tension of standing there with your imaginary sword. Like I'm staring down my son. I've got my sword up here. He's got his down at his waist, ready to draw. Mm-hmm. It's super fun.
What do you think of it? What did your son think?
He had a great time. Yeah. I do have a tendency to like, if I'm starting to pull ahead, to give him a little room to wiggle his way back in. A great time. And we were trash talking each other the entire time. And doing the thing where between rounds when it shows scores, you can waggle it and they'll throw like paintballs or water balloons at each other, but the one who's higher up can hit the one below and the one below can't.
Yeah.
And so that adds a little bit to the like swag of the person in the lead. It was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's simple mode, and then there's pro mode, which you don't unlock until you've played a little bit of simple mode. And there's this ice cream scooping game, which when I'm playing just one-on-one with my girlfriend, we just thought it was a joke because basically these kids come into an ice cream parlor and they are ordering what flavor they want between chocolate, vanilla, and raspberry. And on your smart device, you have a notepad and you can like scribble down little notes of who's ordering what in what order. And then they like quiz you on it at the end of like, okay, who ordered, what flavor was ordered the most? How many total scoops were ordered, things like that. And it was so mind-bogglingly simple. I was like, well, this is just for kids. Like, this is one that is, like, just for kids. But then when you go to Pro Mode, there's 8 ice cream flavors and, like, 30 kids. And they will, like, change their order. They'll be like, oh, chocolate. Oh, sorry, I mean white chocolate. And, like, so you have to, like, erase and, like, mark it down again. And so we did this one on the 4-on-4, and basically I was like, okay, you keep track of these 2, you keep track of these 2 flavors. And so we divvied up the 8 flavors. Each person kept track of 2. And then they'd ask these questions, and then the team leader has to input the answer. And it's just super creative and fun. And this friend group I'm in is a mix of people who host Nintendo podcasts like myself and people who don't ever play video games except at friend game nights like this. And this is where I think Everybody One Two Switch is a better choice than like a Mario Party. Is like this one friend who does not play games. She was like wanting to go again. She's like, can we do another 20-minute show? And people are like, we're calling it a night. But I think that's because it's just so simple and it's not really like a video game that everybody actually can play it.
You can definitely,
Mario Party,
you can get very good at the specific mini games in Mario Party, which can make it tough for folks who are newer to it. And whereas like this is definitely very much like it taps into less so gamer brain, more so like your trivia brain or your reaction speed or your ability to make a silly connection to something.
Speaking of did you play the trivia game?
Yeah,
in this.
Yeah. Both of them, in fact,
are hilarious.
Yeah. The questions are really funny. So there's 2 different ones that I encountered. There's one where you have the true or false, right? And that one was great because I answered the very first question unbelievably fast, right? And then my son was a little bit faster than me on the next 2. We played 3 rounds, but because I was so fast in that first round, I eked ahead of him. And then basically the inverse happened. There's a picture one where they will show you a picture and they'll ask you a question about it, and you have to answer, or like they'll show 2 pictures and you have to pick the one that corresponds to the question. And it was kind of the reverse, where it's like I was slightly ahead after 2, and then they threw the last one up where they showed like a pile of apples and a pile of strawberries, and they said, well, which one has less fruit? And my brain completely cramped, and I was like, wait, like what defines less? Like fewer? Like what are we talking about? And so I got so caught up in indecision. Like he nailed it right away, and then a second later I figured it out. He ended up beating me because of it. Well tuned. It was excellent execution.
Yeah, and it's funny because if you get it wrong, they punish you, lose points for your team, and you lose more points the faster you work.
Faster you're
so
on.
It's like almost this little like you got to be sure, and like they word the questions like really confusingly sometimes, like I think intentionally, and then like if you just hit that wrong button, then you lose a ton of points for your team, and that led to some funny moments.
Yeah, the best worst feeling in any kind of trivia game is the one where you answer and then you're immediately like, no.
Yeah, and that definitely
you knew you were wrong.
Yeah, and then at the end of when you're playing with more than 2 people, so we had 8 people, you get to vote for an MVP of the entire show, and everybody gets to cast 1 vote, and you can vote. And like the game, it's very like Nintendo and very kind about it. It's like you don't need to vote for the person who was the best. Vote for someone who made you laugh or looked like they were trying really hard. So yeah, you just get to vote for this MVP, and then they like zoom in on their picture because just like Jackbox when you're playing smartphone, you take a picture of yourself.
Picture of some kind. Yeah. Yeah, and I will say, I like the presentation is colorful, it's quick, it's snappy. I never feel like I'm waiting on like loading necessarily. You get into games pretty quick, sometimes with a little bit longer explanation, but it moves at a really good clip, and I think that's essential for this type of game to be fun. So like, well done on that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're talking pretty high on it. Like, it's not fantastic, it's not great. Like, it's not. I don't know how often I'll be bringing it back to those like friend gatherings.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're describing a particularly good McDonald's trip or something. It's
yes, yeah. That's a great way of putting it.
This is not fine cuisine, but like what it did was fun and it was well executed. So like if I were reviewing this, which I'm not, I think it's a solid 7. I like it's good. Like it is good. I had a good time with it.
If I had to review it, I think I've only played it a few times, but I'd probably land on a 6 for a couple reasons. There are definitely like cringe out of your skin moments with like some of the human characters in these games.
Come on.
And yeah, that's not actually a big knock.
Yeah.
And Horace is not good, but I think my main criticism comes down to game selection in that there's a lot of variations of these different games, but the only way to unlock them is to play the team battle, and in the team battle, the next game up is selected sometimes at random, sometimes by the losing team, through only 4 selections on this wheel of 4 selections. So I've played a 40-minute show and 3 20-minute shows, and I've gotten the same games over and over because that's just what keeps showing up on the wheel. And I go to the replay option where you can replay any game you've previously unlocked, and I have dozens of question marks. I think there's 17 games, but there's like 2 to 3 or 4 variations of each. And the only way for me to get all those question marks would be to just play team battle until I got lucky and they showed up. I wish there was a different way to play some of the games I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot they could do to bridge that gap between them and something that is better. Like, obviously, more game types would be helpful. Having some kind of progression system that's a little bit more intentional. Like, Mario Kart, you can collect coins and unlock game types and things like that. I think that would be cool. Some more things to mix things up. More interesting like power-ups between rounds to, if you could do something that would completely wipe the slate clean of the options and it's like 4 new ones pop in. So like there's a lot that they could do, but I think that it's not the most ambitious agenda, but it had some good ideas. It's well executed. They achieve basically their mission statement. They also do some cool things with the options for game setup. Like you can toggle whether or not people will move around and things like that. And so you can kind of customize it to who's playing and the setup. And so, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said that this isn't a disaster like some of the early reporting on it may have made it come across. This is like this to me doesn't feel like shovelware that they had to get some return on. This feels like a fully developed, like silly little budget party game that is out and worth paying a little bit of.
Yeah, it is a Nintendo product, and I think it earns having that logo on the sleeve.
The seal of approval.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess it's fine. It is definitely fine.
Aggressively fine.
I think $20 would have been nice to be more in line with
it right there.
The Jackboxes. But I mean, there is that Nintendo tax. It is a thing.
Yeah.
So $30 is fine. It's much better than the original, which I think was priced at $49.99. The first 1-2 Switch when it came out at launch was a $50 game. Yeah. But I think if you have a group of friends that likes Jackbox, that like is okay buying into stupid, funny things, like go for it. Yeah. Like try it out, see what you think. Because I had a good time. I had a good time with it. Yeah, and that was kind of the consensus. Like, I actually had everyone sit down after we played. I was like, okay, honest thoughts. And then everybody was like, you didn't give us the highest of expectations, but it was actually a lot better than we thought it was going to be. Yep. So, yeah, that's it.
That's it. That's where I draw the line. Good.
And I had something else to say. Oh, yeah, and I would love to play with 100 people.
Yeah. That would be so amazing. Yeah.
Yes. Because there's like games. Did you do the alien one where you're like summoning the alien from his UFO?
No,
you're just doing very simple movements in time to the rhythm until the alien like shows up to you. Like 100 people in the same room doing those just silly movements with their smartphones.
No, you know what I love though, and like so this is a game that you see in other party games like Mario Party, which is like the balloon inflation one. But the thing that I really like about that one is the background is effectively graph paper, right? And so you have a really good sense, like exactly where that point is. And so it really encourages everybody to be like right at that same point and trying to decide, is their balloon bigger or smaller? Do I have to risk putting in just a tiny bit more air afterwards? And I popped my balloon several times because I was like, I think I can squeeze a little bit more in. And so, yes, I like that one quite a bit.
Yeah, I like. There's an auction one that's also, I think, probably smartphone exclusive, where there's like 5 different items, and they each have up for auction, and they each have a point value, but the point values are different for each team. Like this vase might be worth 3 points for me, but -1 points for your team, but you don't know the values it's worth to the other
that's
team.
clever.
So then you're texting in this group message within the smartphone app. It's not an app. You just scan a QR code.
Yep.
You don't need to download anything. And then you're like trying to strategize like, oh, well, do we make them think that this one's worth a lot of points, or do we hold back to not like waste our money? And then just whoever has the most points at the end of the auction wins. And it's just like, yeah, there's some clever things in here. Yeah. Imagine doing an auction with 100 people with like 50 people bidding.
That would be nice.
It'd be wild.
That'd be good.
Yeah, it's good. It's solid. It's a party game, which I think we've talked about. They have a ceiling. They're like not the best games out there, but it was fun, and I'm glad it's here. We had a good time with it. And MC Horrors for Smash.
Yes,
wouldn't that be something?
That would be amazing.
I could see it. I would not be shocked
with a little suit, horse mask, and I can see the moveset now. The 1-2 switch is his final smash. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I can see it. But let's move on and talk about a game out this month in 2 weeks. Pikmin 4 will be here. It's coming out on July 21. Nintendo put out a demo. We mentioned that last week. It hadn't been out at the time, but it came out like 20 minutes after we finished recording last week.
Did.
So I sat down and I played this thing to completion over the weekend. And Justin, you played it too. And is this your first time with Pikmin, or have you played the series before?
So I've never beaten a Pikmin game before. I've picked it up once or twice over the years, like going back to the GameCube and messed around with it. But I'll be honest, I'm not a Pikmin guy. Like whoever the series appeals to, like it clearly has a following. It's just not me.
Okay, so you were not impressed.
No, and really the demo really enforced that to me. And so my thoughts on it, frankly, aren't super positive, but I don't think that's necessarily a criticism of the game itself. It's just, again, it's like these are things that don't appeal to me. I find it exceptionally slow.
Let me say, I'll set the table here for a little bit, and then you can get into it. So this demo, your save transfer does carry you over into the full game. It starts really out from the beginning of the game. You get to customize your explorer. You get the story introduction. You crash land. You go through the baby tutorial area, and then you're set loose in the first main area of the game.
It's basically like the first 1 to 2 hours of the game, depending on the pace at which you play.
Yeah, it ends when you get 1,500 of the, what's it called, Sparkium?
Yeah, something like that,
yeah. And that's when it ends. And yeah, so let's hear it. Your impressions of Pikmin 4, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a dressed up like RTS, ultimately. And just, I somebody who likes the RTSs quite a bit, I find it slow, I find it plodding, I find the pace at which you move frustrating. I don't love the persistent time mechanic. We've talked about that before on other shows when we talked about other things. Yeah. I don't like, for a RTS that plays kind of like a adventure game where you're collecting a bunch of stuff, my potential dopamine hit from finding a bunch of shiny things is really impacted when I'm thinking about how long it's going to take these dudes to carry all that stuff to the ship, and me trying to figure out like tighter routes to it. It does have kind of that like Metroid-esque element of making paths shorter and making changes to the environment and finding things that make it so that you can get from point A to point B in different ways or reach new areas or shorten those things down, which I think is cool. And I will say if there is a persistent criticism I have of most Nintendo things, it is the non-stop, would you please shut up with the pausing and the text and the tutorial and the demo. And like I was playing this, and I swear I felt like I was playing an old school JRPG where you get a random encounter every 3 seconds in the field, except this time it was text popping up to tell me about a mechanic. So yeah, so like I played all the way through it. And it's cute, it's fun. I think what's the dog, like Pochi is really cute. And the character creator was a lot more limited than I was hoping it was going to be. It did end up being very like maybe even less than less than a me in terms of customization. So I just had an angry Mario looking dude, which I thought was fun. Yeah, nice.
Did you see who my guy was? Did you see my picture of the dude I made?
I'm sure I did. I don't recall it though.
I made him look like Addison from from Tears of the Kingdom, the Hudson Construction sign guy.
I love
he
it.
looks like exactly like him.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I named him Pixon. So yeah, that's my guy for Pikmin 4.
That is brilliant. Yeah, so like I did more so enjoy going in the underground areas because it lifted that time limit mechanic and because they felt like very like contained areas in which that I could explore and be more creative and clever. I'd be curious to hear how many crewmates you recovered and how many non-crewmates you may have recovered.
Yeah.
I do like the overall concept of trying to do things increasingly efficiently. But I certainly feel like as somebody who's maybe not an expert in the series that things like the time limit my ability to experiment and find my best practices. So yeah, it just reinforced that series isn't for me. I'm not going to be picking up Pikmin 4. I'm just not the target audience.
Yeah. I will say, I think if you are a Pikmin fan out there, Pikmin 4 is looking really, really good. I think that if you like the series. So for background, my experience with it is the only Pikmin I finished is Pikmin 3. I have watched, I watched my sister play Pikmin 1 years ago and parts of Pikmin 2. So I've seen those games, I know what they're about, but I've never played them myself. But I really, really enjoyed Pikmin 3, but I think Pikmin 4 is kind of a huge step up in a lot of ways for the series that from Pikmin 3 and from what I know of 1 and 2. Like in Pikmin 1, the time limit's pretty aggressive. And like if you fail in your, I think 30 days, like it's over. Like you have to start the game over.
Oh no.
You can reload a save, but if you couldn't make it happen from your last save the first time, it's probably not going to happen the second time. Like you kind of need to start over. And then Pikmin 3 was like, it had a time limit, but it was pretty easy, pretty relaxed. You swap between 3 protagonists, and it felt like more of the same. But Pikmin 4 is a little bit of a reinvention, in my opinion, of some of the mechanics of the series. I think that Ochi is a really nice addition. Him being able to gather all of your Pikmin up at once so you can just run around the world faster is very nice. There's gear for like the first time in the Pikmin series where you can go and get this item that allows you to send out like all Pikmin of one color. So instead of tapping A over and over and over to throw all 30 of your red Pikmin, you just hit X to like send all 30 in a big wave, and then they can all start on this pile instantly. And that saves like, I don't know, 15 to 20 seconds so you can go on and do the next thing. Like just these little quality of life things that I think made it a lot nicer. I think the presentation is great. I think the soundtrack is very relaxing and charming. I think the visuals are very nice. I really like the caves and kind of the exploration, and I can only imagine how far they're going to go with some of the puzzles and mechanics down there. Like, there's like the conveyor. Did you go in a cave with like a conveyor belt system that you had to like flip back and forth? Like, that's our only like the first area, and it was pretty clever. You had to do some interesting things with it.
I can't wait till you end up in the depths.
Yeah, that kind of is like that.
Feels like that.
Yeah. I will agree with you on the chattiness point. I think Nintendo's done a pretty great job lately of not doing that. And so when I booted up this demo, I was like, this feels like Mario and Luigi Dream Team, 3DS era, like, just stop talking to me. And I know there's a lot to talk about in Pikmin. It's a very different type of game than kind of anything else they make. And being the first new one on Switch, it's surely going to bring in a lot of new people. So I understand them wanting to, like, really slowly let you into things, but we've talked about this for years. They need an option that's like, hey, have you played this before? Or are you an experienced gamer in general? Like, because you don't need that. You don't need all of the chatting, and it is a lot. And I think that it led up as you got a little further into the demo. Like, I think once you got past that initial point.
I certainly believe there is hopefully a point where you mostly get to just play this game. But yeah, it was so frustrating because I wanted to, like, I completed the demo, right? And I wanted to do so, and like I was motivated to, get my shiny points up and to rescue crewmates and things like that. But it was just such a drag. And when I'm already stressed for time, I don't recall. I'm sure it stopped the timer, but I'm already stressed for time. I'm already thinking about my next move. The last thing I want to do is stop and listen. And it's weird too because like plenty of other things are complex and have beginner-friendly tutorials that don't do that. Like, I mean, at least like talk to me while I'm doing something, or find other ways to convey this information, or like space things out differently. Or just, Mama Bird Zelda and kick you out of the nest and say, go get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like, give
And
me something other than just pausing me every 5 seconds for paragraphs of text.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I am excited about the mechanics they're kind of setting up with that. Like, you can upgrade Ochi's skills and kind of choose what you want him to focus on. Is it swimming? Is it battle? Is it how many Pikmin he can contain? How much weight he can lift? Like, that's interesting. The different gear is interesting. So I do like a lot.
Yeah,
of
and then like the potential crafting material that you're gathering, and at least, I didn't unlock every crewmate there is to unlock, over the course of the demo. So there's probably whole mechanics that I haven't even been exposed to yet.
I'm wondering if they'll be in future areas or something.
Yeah,
I didn't get everyone either.
Yeah, did you get the dude who spoilers for a demo, whose face is like covered in leaves and do take on his whole challenge?
No, I didn't get him. I didn't get him.
Yeah. So, but I won't spoil it for you. But at least like one person to recover them, you literally have to like take on a challenge of a somewhat challenging challenge, and you get multiple attempts at it. So I had to try a couple times, and so like again, I love things that do like push your skill set, and that is actually an example of like, okay, here's me getting practice with like organizing my thoughts and building a plan and then going to execute my plan. So if they do more stuff like that, I think that's only to the better of the experience for everybody. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think that I regret how I played the demo a little bit because I'm just a total completionist in games like this where I see that skateboard up there and I'm gonna collect it.
Gonna get that skateboard.
My yellow Pikmin up there. So I got to 1500 and ended the demo really fast when there was a lot lot of area. I should have just delayed it and not gathered it all and seen more of this opening area.
So what's funny is I don't know Pikmin as well as you, so I'm sure you found way more things than I did, but I finished the demo with about 2,000 shinies what have you, because I think I finished a day at like 1490 and then grabbed a bunch of stuff the next day when it started, and so I think that's also how I ended up like progressing to a few of these areas, and like the combat is the same Pikmin combat, and I do like the way it works. Like I think that's something that it does pretty well in terms of like you hurling your units and choosing types of units and using like ice powers to freeze a big dude before you send like your masses, so you can't like basically wipe your party with big like AoE attacks and things like that. Basically the verbiage that we would use for a big mature complex game, because Pikmin like does play like that. It just wraps it in a kind of cute package.
Yeah, and you mentioned Ice Pikmin. That's brand new.
Is that new?
Pikmin 4. Nice. So that is a new mechanic. Ice Pikmin are in the demo. You get them in the first area, and they can freeze enemies. And then when you kill a frozen enemy, they drop different resources than if you killed them normally. So you kind of have to choose: do you want to freeze them or not, based on kind of what you're short on at the time. So I thought that was interesting. And then also, if you throw a select number of ice Pikmin in a body of water, it will freeze that entire body of water, so you can then traverse across it with Ochi or other Pikmin, whatever. So
you just watch out, because the ice will melt, which I found out the hard way when I had to rescue everybody from the water.
Yeah, I had a kind of a disaster also, because I remembered that Ochi can swim eventually.
Yeah.
Because that's in the trailers. So I just dove into the water with Ochi, and then all 40 of my Pikmin just started drowning, and I was like, oh my gosh.
That's almost exactly what happened to me. I'm riding Ochi covered in Pikmin, right? I'm on the ice, I'm meandering, and all of a sudden, like, the ice shatters. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I think I'm going to be fine. Nope. Ochi is drowning, all the Pikmin are drowning, and I'm getting just a bunch of very concerned warnings telling me that I have to get everybody out right away, or they are going to die.
Yes, or that's it.
Yep.
Another nice new thing with Ochi, I thought, is he can sniff out kind of your next objective. So instead of wandering aimlessly, he can kind of like, if you're ready to stop exploring.
I use that extensively.
It's nice. Yep. That's a nice feature. And I also really, really love the backyard aesthetic of this game.
I do like that.
Just the little children's toys, the baseball.
The Game Boy Advance SP.
Yes, that was awesome. That was awesome. But Pikmin's always been very nature focused, and there's like little real world human made objects that you can find in previous Pikmin games, but for the most part, it's like forests and lakes and rivers and swamps. And this is like you're in a backyard.
Yep.
We know from how the demo starts with Olimar, you're gonna be in a house, like a suburban house, and I think that's just such a brilliant.
That'll be fun
for the series. It's cool. So not for Justin. I think it's very much for me. I'm very impressed by it so far. I think that I
think series fans will enjoy it.
Yes.
I also think if you're not a series fan, just in my own personal experience, I don't know that this will convert you. If you're curious, try the demo.
Yeah. I think it's a great a great game to put a demo out for. I think, because Pikmin is very different. So, and there's a lot of people that own Switches that haven't tried it.
Yeah.
Like Pikmin 3 is the highest selling Pikmin at like 2 million.
Yeah.
Like it's not
right.
very many
And now there's 150 million Switches out there. So give everybody a chance to see if they like it.
Yeah. So yeah, try out the demo. Let us know what you think. Toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com. But yeah, it's out in 2 weeks, and I'm excited. I think that it's going to be a really nice palate cleanser post Zelda for me. Just a very different game, very much smaller scope, more linear. Just I'm excited for that to be kind of the big follow up to Zelda. Yeah. All right, so that's our impressions of these games. We have a slow news week beyond the 2 games we had to talk about, but I highlighted a couple things of series and games that are near and dear to my heart. So Masahiro Sakurai, Smash Bros. Director, also Kid Icarus Uprising director. He's doing that YouTube series now talking about all the games that he has directed, and he's kind of going through them chronologically. He's up to Kid Icarus Uprising, and it's a great video. Highly recommend you check it out on his YouTube channel, because that is a phenomenally underrated game. It's so underrated. And Sakurai said, quote, "It's a shame that it's only lived on 3DS, as I'd love to play on a bigger screen with smoother graphics, but without a team around to work on it, crafting a follow-up seems difficult," Sakurai said. So, yeah, he's been, like, kind of publicly saying for years that he wants a port of this game, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen, Justin.
No, yeah, and the way that he puts it, it sounds like it's the sort of thing where without a team, it sounds like there's no interest whatsoever at the big end to devote any resources to this.
Yes,
even if he wants it. You think he could pull the look at how hard I worked on Smash Card, but I do wonder if that means then that the series is effectively dead, because it was so long before we got a follow-up from the NES, and it landed with a bit of a flop.
Which it shouldn't have, because it's so great. It's that control scheme, man, which he also mentioned in the video why it didn't support the Circle Pad Pro accessory for the 3DS. If you remember the big boat attachment, you could put your 3DS in back in the day. And he said that the 3DS Circle Pad Pro required 5% of like the computing power of the system, and Kid Icarus was already pushing it to its max.
Couldn't spare it.
So they just couldn't support it. And it is. That thing is, I mean, say what you will about how it plays, that's probably a top 5 best looking 3DS game. It's gorgeous and it's fast and there's a lot happening on screen and there's like never a performance drop. Like it is a technical showpiece, which Sakurai called it himself in this video. So I like seeing the love for this game. It was what he made in between Brawl and Smash Wii U 3DS. I think it was the first game that he made at Project Sora, which was the company he founded himself.
You can see why Nintendo doesn't let him work on these, though.
What do you mean? Explain that.
Because it's bookended by Smash titles. So you have, one of by far the best-selling franchises that you have that sells millions upon millions upon millions of units that everybody talks about and plays and is ubiquitous in like the fighting game community. And then right smack dab in the middle of it is a little Kid Icarus title that sold 2 million units. Yeah. You can see where they're like, no, back to the Smash mines for you.
Smash. Yeah. But he's said he's like semi-retired now.
Yeah.
We'll see what that means.
Yeah.
They've yanked him out of retirement before.
Hey, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'll believe it when I see it.
Mm-hmm. But I know that it was Iwata that really got him to make Smash 4 after Brawl. So we'll see.
Without that connection, maybe he can negotiate. Be like, all right, I'll work on some Smash for you if you let me do
another. Like,
if you port this game, then you can pick up the phone and call me.
Yes, that sounds great. Do it, Sakurai.
Do it. I know you're listening.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. And then another series near and dear to me specifically is F-Zero and Nintendo designer Takaya Imamura, who, if you don't know, he's designed a ton of characters and art for Nintendo. He's worked on F-Zero. He created Tingle, like this guy who's been around for Nintendo. He was for a long time. And he did a recent interview with VGC about why there hasn't been a new F-Zero. And this is a quote from that interview where he said, "I think it's because Mario Kart is Nintendo's most popular racing game, and a new F-Zero would cost a fortune. My impression, though, is that Miyamoto is very affectionate about Star Fox," because he was kind of asked about those series back to back, like, because we've gotten a new Star Fox a lot more recently than a new F-Zero. What do you think of these two reasons? Mario Kart being the most popular and F-Zero costing a fortune to make?
I think both are pretty fair. I think that, again, given the sort of similar to the soccer conversation, I think given the unbelievable heights that Mario Kart has reached from a sales standpoint, anything that might feel like a first party like competitor to it, you introduce the potential that you're either going to leech sales or you're just going to look frankly kind of pathetic in comparison. And so I don't see a lot of upside. I don't know what winning by releasing a F-Zero game looks like from a Nintendo standpoint. Other than, I don't know, maybe it's extremely mid-tier and sells 10 million units and people have a good time with it, but keep buying Mario Kart packs. Maybe when they finish with all of the content for that, they look at something else. But and from the other standpoint, yeah, I mean F-Zero, because we're not building on an existing base because there hasn't been one for so long. You are talking about probably building something from scratch, which in 2023 is a stiff investment, especially if you think it's going to make a dent. And you want it to have an impact, and it does have to look and play and feel like F-Zero, which means it needs to be beautiful and fast and colorful and 60 FPS. So that's a lot to do it right. I believe that they could, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I just don't buy the Mario Kart argument because, like, how many platformer series do they have? Mario's the most popular one, but Kirby and Yoshi and Donkey Kong still get platforming games. And also Mario Kart and F-Zero are not in the same genre. It's like kart racer versus, like, I mean, not sim racer, but it's closer to sim racer than to kart racer, in my opinion. And it's like, I think there's room for it. I think that at this point,
an arcade racer. Yeah, I wonder how you would specifically define that genre. Yeah, I just think that to build this up out of nothing is tough, and
But how great would it be as a launch game for the next system where they come out and they're like, hey, look, 1080p, locked 60, Switch 2, here's F-Zero to prove it to you.
You got my vote. Nice. I'm on board for that. And I do think in particular, like, racing games tend to be perfect showcase pieces because you can basically devote all of the polygons you need to the vehicle model to make it look amazing. So I think something like that would be super cool. I mean, I'm on board for it. I'm obviously not a giant F-Zero fan like you are, but like the music is amazing. The
slaps.
Yeah, the cars are great. Folks like Captain Falcon now, because of things like Smash, do have some name recognition and some cachet with fans. There are arguments for doing so, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think if Metroid Dread, a 2D Metroid for $60, can sell 3 million, and F-Zero can crack 1. I think that could happen.
Yeah, is that enough? Would be the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I think at my point, my only hope for F-Zero is we saw Pikmin 1 and 2 just get very, I won't say lazy, I'll just say very quick remasters.
Bare minimum ports.
Yeah. Just HD up-res and a couple quality of life things, actually, that they did go on into a Gosha video about it. If they could just do that with F-Zero GX, the GameCube one, just get me all the GameCube games on Switch. And like Pikmin 1 and 2 is getting a nice little physical release.
Ports some arcade ones, man.
Yes. Yeah. F-Zero GX and AX together.
Make those accessible.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be cool. So, yeah, Kid Icarus and F-Zero, two of Nintendo's best series. No, I won't say that.
It is a tough week for Logan news.
It is, yeah. And then this last topic here we have for this week is a little bit interesting. This is from a Nintendo 2023 annual business report, and it revealed salaries for the top 5 highest paid employees at Nintendo. And I got this over from Nintendo Life, who took the values in yen and converted it to US dollars. Worth noting that the exchange rate is very favorable to the dollar right now when I read these numbers. But the president of Nintendo, Shuntaro Furukawa, makes $2.51 million every year. The second highest paid employee at Nintendo is Shigeru Miyamoto, who makes $2.02 million US dollars every year. And then you have people like Shinya Takahashi and some others below him at $1.6 million, $1.1, and $910,000. And Nintendo Life's article did this. I think it's worth comparing kind of to what do the top people at other game companies make? Bobby Kotick of Activision makes $154 million last year. EA's Andrew Wilson made $34 million last year. And then for comparison, another Japanese company, Square Enix's Yosuke Matsuda made $4 million in 2020. So Nintendo's salaries are much lower across the board for their directors, which is it's fascinating to know.
Yeah, that is the thing that stood out to me the most, honestly. Like the ranking of these figures, I think, seems appropriate. Having your chief executive make the most, but having Miyamoto live right behind him, I think, I get it. That checks out. But yeah, only a handful of folks, have 7-digit salaries. Which, if you look at any of the other Sony and Microsoft, these giga corporations, they have a lot of people who make that much money, honestly. And so that stands out to me. Man, that Bobby Kotick number makes me sick.
It's
disgusting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just shows that the wage is not necessarily tied to the good you do in this world. Something that I am curious though is if they do this again next year, but based on whatever type of bonusing structure they might have, what we would see, like Aonuma, if he would make an appearance at the top of this list, because I don't. So Ko Shioda, what does this person do? Do we know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the one name on this list that I didn't recognize. I should have looked it up before.
So it looks like that's the general manager of Nintendo's hardware department.
Okay.
Which, again, based on the number of units sold, doing a heck of a job. No objection here.
Yeah.
So I do. I find that curious, especially because Nintendo is a company that famously is fairly cash rich, that tends to maintain a pretty steady, strong, positive net income. And I mean, the weird thing, not to get too economics about it, is that may in fact actually have a lot to do with it, because you look at folks like Bobby Kotick. So much of that salary actually comes from things like stock options and changes in valuation of the amount of stock that he owns in the company and things like that. People don't become billionaires by earning real dollars. And being a company that runs basically a very traditional P&L based business, might actually have a lot to do with why Nintendo salaries are this way.
Yeah, I think that it just is also reminiscent of, you remember the story of when Iwata cut his salary in half when the Wii U wasn't doing well. It's just I don't know. I do. There's things about Nintendo I admire, and $2.5 million is nothing to sneeze at. That's a ton of money for one person.
I would take it.
Yes, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
But just comparing it to the other big players in the industry, honestly, it kind of lines up with what I would have expected. Yeah. Knowing kind of some things about Nintendo. It doesn't surprise me. I think a lot of people are like, oh, wow, that's shocking that that Miyamoto makes $2 million when the guy at EA makes $34 million. But I'm not surprised, just knowing how Nintendo deals.
Company culture and how they work. Yeah. On the flip side, I don't think anybody would argue that Miyamoto isn't worth significantly more than those other folks to the industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go.
Yep, so interesting little tidbit there. We're running a little short this week. Not as much to talk about. So, Justin, do you have any update on Zelda?
Yeah, so I finally took your advice and I started exploring more the tunnel from Lookout Landing back towards the castle.
Yes.
And oh my god, that's so much bigger than I thought it was. So I literally thought it was just I had just found the demon statue, or I forget what that guy's called. And then I found one or two other rooms, and I was like, okay, cool, I explored everything. I didn't realize there was a whole upper ledge that takes you through this complex tunnel system that spreads and branches and reaches different rooms in the castle. So, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to take a quick 5 minutes, clear this out like Logan talked about. And I've been there for a day trying to clear everything out. And then I ended back in the castle. I found more pieces of the Royal Guard uniform. So then I decided I was going to search every inch of the castle till I had the entire Royal Guard uniform. So now I got that. So now Link is looking extremely fresh. And then I'm going to get back to heading south towards Lake Hylia, and then work my way east towards the deserts and the Gerudo, and wrap up the last of the main temples.
Nice. You're getting there.
I'm getting there.
You're definitely
slow and steady. It's been a little slower lately. I will say I have been playing a little more Final Fantasy and mixing those in together, but I don't have any reviews assigned to me right now, so my gaming time is my own. I get to actually play it how I want. I will say I frankly probably would have been better spent using my pick and time as Zelda time, but that's all right.
Yeah.
To learn that lesson. But I feel good about where I'm at. I'm finally at the point too where even the like harder enemies aren't that big of a threat. Like I've got the armor I'm using is upgraded to tier 3 across the board, so everything short of your like Thunder Gleeoks, not super worried about. So I'm feeling pretty sturdy at this point.
And how are you feeling about it? Is it still holding up as all the praise we've given it?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, no, absolutely. So this is the sort of game where we're going to be dissecting all the things that they did brilliantly for a long time, and it's also the sort of one where I feel like we're going to read a news story 2 years from now about like, hey, here's this weird thing that you didn't really notice that was actually really important and impactful that they did. Like some think about the way that they're guiding you somewhere or how a certain mechanic works. Like we're gonna find out that the like mining through all the rocks is actually some kind of modern miracle
Yeah.
or something like that. And so yeah, I'm enjoying. I'm trying to find the right mix between my incessant urge to do everything and flip over every rock with a desire to see through the main story and then overturn every rock after I get to the end of it.
Yeah.
I finally started using the auto build a little bit more now that I have infinite Zonai rocks in my pockets because I've collected so many. So I'm there. We also keep seeing ridiculous creations like please. If you wrote this one, I apologize. But did you see the IGN article about the perpetual flying machine?
I did see it.
Okay.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that you wrote it. I was going to feel terrible for not remembering that.
I did not write that one.
It's so
No, but that's super cool.
yeah. Or the master hand that somebody built.
That one
Oh my God.
is incredible. So if you haven't seen this one,
Go ahead.
Go for it.
No, please.
So they made the Master Hand, the boss from Smash Brothers, and they made multiple versions of it that do the actual moves it does on Final Destination in Smash, like the laser fingers,
laser
where
beams?
it's like,
Oh my God.
amazing! It's so cool. Go check that one out. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no limit to what I've seen people do. So my question for you though is, so you said you were going to finish the main story, which you did, and then that's when you were going to start trying to like 100% the game. So how is that going? What are you working on right now?
I am almost done with the sky. I'm almost entirely done with
the
everything
sky.
up there.
Don't need it.
Yeah, I almost have I'm almost done with every shrine that's up there and every sage's will that's up there. And I don't know about core rocks. I'm doing core rocks too, by the way.
Are you?
I'm up to
all like 1,200 or whatever?
Yeah, yeah. So it's going well. I have 104 shrines total. So I'm getting
out of how many?
There.
It's more.
152.
Okay.
152 shrines, 120 on the ground, 32 in the sky. So, yep. And so yeah, I'm almost done. I'm getting there. I have 55 side adventures complete, which is almost all of them.
Wow.
Only a few left. Not even close on the side quest. Do you know how many there are?
No, I don't.
Or do you want to know how many there are?
I'm fine knowing I won't remember.
There's 140 side
Oh my
quests.
God.
And 60 side adventures.
They're good too. That's the thing that I keep going back to is you stumble upon somebody who needs something, and it's this whole multi-part thing where you're like sneaking behind somebody to eavesdrop, or you're finding like sneaky ways to get into places. Like they're so fleshed out. I just can't comprehend how they managed to cram all that in there.
Yeah. And I'm 115 hours in, and there are times where I'm like, I think I've seen all of this game's surprises. It's just a matter of clearing it all out. And then last night, man, something happened where I'm like, that was so insanely cool, and I had no idea that was going to happen until it just did. And basically, I still don't want to give away what happened, but basically one quest brought me from the sky to the depths in just the coolest way.
Oh,
that
man.
was just so exciting, and yeah, just really cool stuff that's still happening. I found a boss that I had not fought yet, just like roaming around in the depths that I had not seen before. It was just a variation of one I had fought, but still, like, that was super cool to bump into.
That's one of the things in the depths that, like, the first time I saw that, and I was like, oh my God, I literally don't know what's around any corner. Like, what's the name of the boss from the Wind Temple?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, me either. But so like I'm down there in the depths. I'm fighting enemies, and like they're all glowing red, like they're scary, they're a little bit tougher and stuff. And I'm like, I feel like I'm doing okay, and I'm going from route to route, trying to unlock everything and brighten everything. And then I feel like I see some motion, so I turn it and I look, and I see that dude just flying through the air in the depths. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to run and hide. I am not prepared to fight one of those things down here. The depths remains extremely intimidating. Although
Still saving it for last.
I do want to finish out at least the like Master Koga stuff down there. Like I think I'm gonna do that probably before I actually start going into the deserts of Gerudo.
Yeah. Oh man, you still haven't discovered the thing I keep telling you haven't discovered. I feel like I if I send you some coordinates, would you go to the coordinates?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm going to send you coordinates right after this show.
All right, I'm going to have a report
and that should be your next mission. Because it is, bar none, my favorite part of the game, actually.
I'm officially taking assignments.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm still blown away by it pretty much.
You know I have found, so I've started investing like basically all of my Korok seeds into shields now. Because I'm just sticking crap on my shields. Like that's it. It is my Batman utility belt. It's like, do I need to get something high? Cool, I got a spring, I got rockets. Is this maybe going to be a tough fight that I'm going to be very cautious about? Cool, give me the shield with the blaster on it, and I'll hide behind it while I shoot it for a while, and get ahead that way. There's so much utility to them, and I just don't get sick of it.
Yeah, I seriously don't know when I'm going to play something else because I am still playing this and I am not tired of it. And I keep telling myself I will 100% this thing one day. But when it starts to feel like work and not like wonder anymore, I'm going to put it down. And it hasn't happened yet. I am still just like, there have been times where I'm like, not as many exciting things happened today. I was just some Koroks and whatever. But then there's other days where like, I just like, today I am doing this side adventure. I see a dragon, I need its claw for something. I launch into the air, I go get the claw. I see a shrine I haven't done. I go down and do the shrine. I see this person standing with a red exclamation point. I go over, I talk to them. It's just like, these strings that just...
You never know where you're going to end up.
Yeah, it's just awesome.
Yeah, and my thing with the game is always, if I'm not sure if I want to play it, I'll boot it up for a second.
And then you're like, yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, and if I want to play it, I'll play it. If I still don't feel it, I won't. So far, that's always just led into like long sessions of playing Zelda.
Yeah. Once you're in, it's hard to turn it off.
It is hard to turn it off.
You staying up too late?
I've been good lately. Although, I mean, I'm a night owl. I don't go to bed before 1 a.m. no matter what. Like usually on the weekend, I'm up to good like 2 or 3, and so I tend to get a lot of gaming time done in those hours.
Nice.
In those degenerate hours. Yeah. So that's outstanding. Too late is up for interpretation. But Zelda definitely gives me a lot of incentive to not go to bed quite yet.
Yes, absolutely. All right, I think that's our show. We made it to an hour.
Yeah,
we did it. Yeah, that's another episode of the Toadstool Boardroom in the books, a weekly Nintendo podcast here on Thursdays, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. You can check us out Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or you can check out the video version on YouTube. Next week, episode 50. Are we going to do something cool? I don't know.
Ooh.
It's a pretty good number. What do you think of 50?
Huh.
It's a decent number.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. So, yeah, we'll see. But for now, you can find Justin online. Where are you? Are you still on Twitter with everyone that's leaving it? What's going on?
Yeah. I'm one of those castaways left behind. Just adrift on Twitter for now at KOREIS.
Yes, I'm still on Twitter for now at Logan J Plant. We'll see if there ends up being a real alternative that sticks or not.
Right.
We'll find out. Yeah, and you can find the show also on Twitter at ToadstoolBR. Send us an email, toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great week. We'll catch you next time here in the Toadstool Boardroom.